That's so cool. And you mentioned the like just kind of like seeing the same fans too. And one thing I noticed, and also what I love about Cannibal Corpse was I first probably got into you around like the early 2000s as I started diving into more extreme metal and stopped listening to stuff on the radio, you know.
Mhm.
But after my first show, like I've seen to just see you guys live every time because there is such a certain I don't know, vibe and energy you guys put out, which you don't get from a lot of bands. And it's almost like um I live in Toronto. I live 5 minutes from the
Mm.
Opera House. If I see Cannibal Corpse on the thing, I'm gonna go, and I know I'm just gonna get
Mm.
this rush of like adrenaline and other people all in it in the same thing. And you guys are just killing it and everything. And it's just amazing how you've over all this time too, you haven't slowed down with the live show or the style or anything. It's just that consistency, like you said.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean it's cool that you mentioned the Opera House too, by the way, because our first real full tour, we had actually played Toronto a couple times before. We played the Opera House, but the Opera House was our first Toronto show that was part of an actual tour, and that was
Oh,
with
cool.
Atheist and Gorguts back in 1992, I think
Wow.
January or February of 92. So we played the Opera House, and we still play there sometimes.
Yeah, I
Like that's
noticed.
just within the past 5 or 6 years we played there. I can't remember exactly which tour it was, but we played there pretty recently. You're talking about the difference between guys who were, in the early 20s to guys who are now in their early 50s. And that's the big difference because this is an athletic kind of music. So we have to pace ourselves a little bit, make sure that we are taking care of ourselves on tour. I mean, I used to, we all used to party a bit back in the old days, and I would not, that's a long, long time ago for me, but I would not play hungover and in my 50s. I don't know how some guys still do it. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
God, you're in your 50s and you're hitting the stage hungover or whatever. I forget it. So, yeah, we just make sure we take care of ourselves health wise and want to be able to do the things that we did 30 years ago and still do it at that level or even better if we can. But yeah, it's really physical stuff, especially for the drummers. I think that's going to be interesting to see, like, because this is physical in a way that a lot of other drumming styles are not. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing blast beats when a guy's in his 70s. I
Yeah.
want to see it. I haven't seen it yet, but I think we will see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. We want to keep the intensity just as intense as it ever was. And I think we're still able to do that. And hopefully everybody sees it that we're still loving it up there.
Yeah, it's so cool because I feel like just like in other genres, we've seen these legacy bands from hard rock and jazz, but you and many others from the 90s and 80s, like this is the first wave of death metal legends, you know? And like you said, it's just like drummers wear and tear. I believe Flo from Cryptopsy, I heard his knees are really bad now. Like, and it's just like stuff like that because it's so intense.